What I'm going to show you how to do tonight, these cute little mug rugs out of them. And I created this pattern for the mug rug, and it's a machine embroidery file. You have to have a 6x10 hoop to do it. And then I use my design center to trace the snowman. Even his eyes, his beak, the little ribbon on the package.
Yeah, all the
You can get as detailed as you want when we do this tonight. But basically you're tracing it in design center. So if you come in Invisifill, 100 weight, and a neutral color, a very neutral color. When we go into design center, there are a couple of ways to trace our design. One is to use the stylus that came with the machine, which I find to be quite large and clunky. And the other thing is you could use your finger on the screen to do the tracing, but I find my finger is bigger than this thing. So the third thing people sometimes do is if you get an old wired mouse, you can stick this in the USB port of your machine where it says mouse. It's a little picture of a mouse. It has to be an old wired one though, okay? And you can actually use this to trace your design. Some people swear by this. That's why I'm bringing it up. They find it much easier to do. The method I'm going to show you tonight is using this little stylus. If you wish to trace around your fussy cut square with Design Center, this is the time to do it. Because the only other step left, guys, is putting the backs on. When we're at this screen right here, we're going to say, okay, we're not going to get rid of this file. We're going to add to it. We've done adding to files before, so this should start getting to be old hat. We're going to say, okay, we're going to say return. And now so basically we've come out of the guts of the embroidery, and we're going to say we need to add a design. This is where you would also add any letters, lettering names, that kind of thing. We're going to say add, and we're going to go into the My Design Center. And we're in My Design Center on the Luminaire, we're going to scan. On the Stellaire, you're going to bring it in via the
app, yeah.
So we click this little leaf. We're going to bring in an image scan. Basically, image scan is a background image. That's what image scan is for. So we're going to choose that, and we're going to tell it to scan. And it's going to say, okay, here I go. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about some of the things on this screen that we need to understand. First of all, you'll see my little scan here. Can you see that? Okay. It's fuzzied out. It does that on purpose because it's the background. It's too fuzzied out for me. So these two leaves up here allow me to adjust the transparency. If I click this one, see how it makes her darker? So I can find her easier to see. And if I need to lighten her up on the fly, I just go back the other way. So those are my transparency buttons. The other button that comes in very handy for Becky is the magnifier. The other command we're going to use is this hand. This hand allows us to pan around the image because you can't fit everything all in at once. I can actually now drag my picture around. So let's say I'm going to make a decision to start on her hat. I'm going to put her hat center. So magnifying glass blows it up or shrinks it down. Pan moves it around. Transparency lightens or darkens the image that we're going to trace. First thing I want to do, and you don't have to do this first, but I think it makes sense, is go into line type. And I'm going to say I want an open line type, which is the first one, meaning I'm going to freehand it. I'm going to set my double run stitch. And now you can choose any color you want, or you can leave it black. I'm going to actually, based on one of Brent's suggestions, change it to red because I have a black outline on my snowman already. So I want to be able to keep track of what I've outlined. Now I'm going to say, okay. So now I've just set up my line type, my color, my transparency. I've played with all of those goodies. The other thing I check before I get started is the size of my eraser in case I make a boo-boo. So here's the eraser right here. And it normally comes in huge. And if you put your stylus or your finger on the screen, I don't know, mine's not too bad, size 20. I actually like it usually a little smaller. You can pick the shape. Do you want it to be a square or do you want it to be a circle? Depending on what you're editing, sometimes one shape works better than the other. But you'll be using an eraser, I guarantee you. So size 20 is not bad. I'm going to start with that. So out we go. So those are the most important elements that we need. That's it to do this. That and a method of tracing. Now, I'm going to use my stylus to do it. What happens when I touch the screen, it is an automatic, I should hear a beep. If I don't hear a beep, it means it didn't activate it. And I should hear a beep, and then I should start to see a line developing. I'm going to go all the way up to 800%, the hand. So I'm going to choose my pencil. I'm going to put, I hope we're going to hear it beep. And it doesn't matter where you start. So I'm going to just put my, hear it? And I'm basically just, I find I draw better going up. I don't know why again.
And you can kind of see on the screen how it's turning red as she traces it.
Can she? That's better now, right?
Yep.
Transparency's down. So see how when I was done, I just picked it off. I still have my pencil active, so I'm going to go and I'm going to go get this part of the hat. Now these are pixelated, so don't get like overly like, oh my gosh, it looks a little shaky, but it is going to look shaky. And while I'm here, I'm going to start her sleeve. Oops, see, I didn't get a beep. There's my beep. And you can trace as little or, whoa, now see? Oh, Becky doesn't like that right there. My next tip is the undo command. Oh, that's the second time he did it. This is the undo command. It can totally undoes until that first click. That's a good reason not to go too far ahead without lifting your pencil. Because if you have to do an undo, you don't want to undo a half an hour of work. You just want to undo a little section of work. Okay. So now you're going to do that till you get it traced as much or as little as you want. You just keep pinning with your finger, using your pencil, using your eraser, using your undo. This is where I save it to memory before I hit the next button. When I hit memory, it's saving it. You can save it to your stick. I'm saving it to my machine in case I need to go back for any reason. I don't have to retrace the hat. It's there. Now I'm going to choose the next button. And this is where we set our stitch parameters. Now this is where we set our stitch length. Right now it's set to 2 millimeters. That's kind of large, isn't it? Right? And then I'm going to hit OK.
Yeah. So
after you get this and you're happy with all of it, if we had more settings to take care of, we'd take care of it. But on this design, there isn't any more settings. That's it. So when I hit set, it's going to say, you want me to convert it to an embroidery pattern? And I'm going to go, yes, I do. I'm going to say, okay. And guess what's in my embroidery section? Do you see my little hat? There's the hat. So
yeah, that's
I've just added to this pattern. Oh, a tip, and I didn't do it, and I wish I had. A tip for before you scan it or take your picture, if you put colored tape, because some of my snowman is outside of the area, if I had put colored tape along here, I would have known I didn't have to trace the whole top of her hat because of how I placed her.
Okay, yep, I wouldn't have thought that's a good.
So colored matte, either blue tape, pink tape, just a color. So you know where you're, because I can't see when this in the scan because I used white stitching. I can't see it. So if I put tape, I'll see the tape really, really easily. And I'll know. Don't bother drawing the top of the hat, Becky. It's going to get cut off.
Okay.
Now, when I go into embroidery mode, it's going to bring up the first thing we've already done. You know, It's going to start all over again. I don't want that. So I'm going to change my needle positionings here. And I'm going to jump. I find it faster to jump backwards because it's the last thing we added was her hat. So you will see whatever you trace show up on the screen. This is one I suggest switching to that very nice 100 weight. Oops. Thank you. 100 weight thread before we start stitching. Okay, now he says he's finished, and your instructions will say, well, not if you want to put a back on it. If you want to put a back on it, we're going to not say we're finished. We're going to go back in and we're going to find our back, which is step 12. Ta-da!
Beautiful.
Well, all she got is her hat done tonight. But you can see,
Yeah, but
you can see how you could just keep going.
oh yeah.
And that's it. That's all there is to it.